Can God be seen? In Exodus 33 verse 20, God tells Moses that no one can see his face and live. However, in Genesis 32 verse 30, Jacob claims to have seen God face to face and lived. How can we reconcile this contradiction? One possible explanation is that Jacob did not actually see God's face but rather had a vision or dream. Another interpretation is that God revealed himself to Jacob in a way that he could perceive without being destroyed. Is God the author of evil? In Isaiah 45 verse 7, God proclaims, "I form the light and create darkness, I make peace and create evil." However, in James 1 verse 13, it is stated that God cannot be tempted by evil nor does he tempt anyone. So, is God the author of evil or not? The answer lies in understanding that the Hebrew word for evil, used in Isaiah 45 verse 7 can also mean calamity or disaster. God may allow suffering to occur as a consequence of human actions, but he does not create or condone evil. Is divorce allowed? In Matthew 19 verses 3 to 9, Jesus states that divorce is only permissible in cases of adultery, while in Mark 10 verses 2 to 12, Jesus says that anyone who divorces and remarries commits adultery. So, which is it? The contradiction can be resolved by understanding the context in which Jesus spoke. In Matthew 19, the Pharisees were trying to trap Jesus by asking if divorce was permissible for any reason, while in Mark 10, Jesus was responding to a question about the legality of divorce in general. The key message is that divorce should be avoided except in cases of infidelity. How many angels were at the tomb? In Matthew 28 verses 1 to 2, 2 angels are described as being present at Jesus' tomb, while in Mark 16 verses 5 to 6, only 1 angel is mentioned. The contradiction can be explained by understanding that one of the angels may have been more prominent in the narrative. When was Jesus crucified? According to Mark 15 verse 25, Jesus was crucified at the 3rd hour, or around 9 a.m., but John 19 verses 14 to 15 states that Pilate handed Jesus over to be crucified at the 6th hour, or noon. How can we reconcile this contradiction? One explanation is that John may be using a different method of calculating time than Mark, or he may be referring to a later stage in the crucifixion process. Is God pleased by human sacrifice? In Genesis 22 verses 1 to 12, God commands Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, while in Jeremiah 7 verse 31, God condemns the practice of sacrificing children. This contradiction can be resolved by understanding that God's command to Abraham was a test of faith and obedience, not a precedent for human sacrifice. What did the sign on Jesus' cross say? In Matthew 27 verse 37, the sign on Jesus' cross reads, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews," while in John 19 verse 19, it says, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." The discrepancy can be explained by understanding that the signs were likely written in different languages and perspectives. How long was Jesus in the tomb? In Matthew 12 verse 40, Jesus predicts that he will be in the tomb for 3 days and 3 nights, while in Mark 16 verse 9, it is implied that Jesus was resurrected on the morning of the 3rd day. The discrepancy can be resolved by understanding that the Jewish concept of time counts any part of a day as a whole day, so Jesus could have been in the tomb for 3 days even if it was not exactly 72 hours.